Welcome back to Third Phase of Moon. Blake Cousins, along with my brother Brent, Paula Asteria, aerospace historian, Michael Schratt, Dark Hour from Dark Hour Paranormal, including Dr. J from Dr. J Radio Live. We're breaking down a new discovery just found on Google Maps of the infamous egg-shaped UFO. You've heard about it in breaking news. Jake Barber has stated he has recovered crash UAP UFO retrieval. You've all seen the video, but this is the first time the world is seeing this anomalous object on an airfield. In India, at the Jodhpur Airport, is a civilian military airfield. Right next to the airport, there is a DRDO facility known as the Defense Research and Development Organization, which seems like India's equivalent to DARPA. The DRDO has many laboratories around India. The one operating in Jodhpur is called the Defense Laboratory. And right now we're looking at something possibly out of this world. You can see this thing levitate, or it's seemingly levitating off the ground. It's been hanging out there for years. And this information has come into my email via Vesa Vanhatupa. We appreciate our supporters from around the world giving us a heads up. We're going to break this down in this episode, also including the updated videos coming in from the Antarctic and I think India as well, of this egg-shaped craft being transported by helicopter from the Antarctic. And we've got the videos and also an egg found possibly in an Antarctic cave with these hieroglyphics on it. Who knows what the heck is going on? That's why we're doing this episode right now. Buckle up, everybody. Let's roll it. First, let's take it out to Michael Schratt. We just showed him the coordinates moments ago. We want to get his thoughts.
This is my assessment. I've watched the video. I took some notes here. These are my conclusions. Number one, I do not believe that this is an extraterrestrial spacecraft. That's my first assessment. Number two is we want to get our configurations correct. This is, in point of fact, not an egg-shaped craft. This is a teardrop-shaped craft because it's blunt in the front and tapers back to a point at the back. So we're looking at more of a teardrop-shaped type of craft. That's the first thing. Now, next thing is they would never have an extraterrestrial spacecraft, now I'm not saying it is, parked outside in an unsecured location at a civilian/military airport. That just wouldn't happen because anything that's of any interest or importance is kept underground. That's point number two. Number three, you can see that on the leading edge right side, there's a glint indicating that this is glossy white in color. It's a very highly polished, reflective type white color because you can see the sun glinting off the right side forward leading edge of the craft. So I thought that was interesting. There's this diamond-shaped section at the very end. A couple of points on that. Number one, it's way too large to be a crew egress or entryway hatch. So that's the first thing. Number two, it's inconsistent with other teardrop-shaped craft that I have in my Stringfield collection. And number three, this could be some type of an exhaust port because it has structure to it. So you've got the leading edge of the craft that tapers back, and then when you get to this diamond structure, it looks like it goes down and then it comes off at a 90-degree angle. So whatever that diamond black section in is the back, that has structure to it. It's just not painted on there. It looks like it actually has some geometry to it. That's my assessment there. But it's way too large to be any kind of a crew egress or entryway hatch. Now, regarding the size of this thing, if you look off to the left, you've got these chain link fence posts. If we allow 6 feet between the centers, you're looking at 12 feet. So I'm very clear, I believe I'm correct on this. This craft is no larger than 12 feet across. That's my assessment on the length here. So we've got 12 feet across. That diamond section could be some exhaust port or something else, but it absolutely does have geometry. The other thing is, I believe it's sitting approximately 2 feet off the concrete tarmac. So it's just not sitting there. It's on a pedestal, it's on a stand, it's something because it's sitting a little bit off the concrete floor here. So that's my assessment. This is what I can see just by looking at the various different angles within this video, and that's my assessment as of January 26, 2025. Thanks a lot.
All right, we just measured this craft via Google Earth. It comes out to be approximately, exactly 24 feet in length, just as Jake Barber stated in his recent News Nation exclusive, saying that this egg-shaped craft that he transported was approximately 20 to 24 feet in length. Could this be the same craft? Michael, with the follow-up, and now that we know it's 24 feet, what's your opinion on this?
So according to the Cousin brothers, they used Google Maps to check what the size of this thing was, and they're coming up with 24 feet across. I think it's actually a little bit shorter than that, but I will concur with their dimensions, so this will be an update.
All right, now let's mix it up. Let's get to Michael from Dark Hour Paranormal. What do you got? What's your opinion on this?
So here we are, at somewhat of an impasse in respect to some of the events that have occurred recently with drone sightings, certainly mixed in with what we would know as UAPs or UFOs. I have to tell you, while we can define some of those drones as familiar and maybe unconventional pieces of equipment or technology, there are other sightings that we simply can't be as precise with. Now, as of late, people have been seeing a lot of this anomalous activity in the sky, and of course, as I just mentioned, some we can define as something that we know of, other things we're just getting familiar with, and of course there's that whole other side of mystery that we simply can't explain. Now, looking at the shape of some of these anomalous crafts, if you will, we've noticed that there's obviously a different technology at play. Now, for years, decades even, we've been privy to the idea that it is possible that we've reconnaissanced a lot of this technology and perhaps, again, for decades, have been using it for our own advantage or perhaps something more collective that goes well underneath the public radar. Now, with this particular egg-shaped craft, or the object that we see here, obviously there are some different interpretations in how this thing may have been moving within different pictures. Obviously, it's been on this platform for quite some time, but, as you see it, maybe levitating based on the shadow and, of course, the size of this thing, it's very possible that this has been kind of sitting away for a very long time, but for what reason we simply cannot surmise. Now, I remember some years ago, Dr. David Anderson, who was very much directly involved in the Time Travel Institute that he founded. Of course, there are a lot of people who can take that as far as they'd like, but he was very scientific in his analysis of what time travel could be. And in fact, he actually went into an entire course within his own research that actually conclusively worked with time dilation and manipulation. These were documented experiments that occurred, but they were more precursory in terms of information than what we were familiar with, or maybe even familiar with today. The reason I bring him up is because he mentioned back in 2010 to 2012, I can't remember exactly when it was, that India had one of the most advanced space and time travel programs on the planet. So take that for what it's worth from someone who really does have a grounding in this type of science. Yes, it's anecdotal, it's a claim, but truth be told, we may now be seeing some evidence of these crafts that they would utilize, or the technology that is implemented to achieve such incredible application. Now, I have to believe that within whatever projects have been going on right underneath our noses, we do know that there has been some very brazen showings of these particular crafts, or at least the technology that we've seen, including, but certainly not limited to, the TR-3B. Now, this has been said for quite some time, that we're driving those crafts, and there are a handful of other ones that are right in the same place of that technology that we still observe. And yet, again, as I use the word brazen, these factions don't seem to care what we think, because in their head, they probably realize that we're not going to figure it out. Well, they're wrong. Because as long as they're utilizing this and will continue to apply this into other sections of our reality, such as what we've been doing with AI, to say the least, you cannot keep this stuff a secret. I believe within this technology, we have the capability to go further into our immediate universe at least. And of course, this is backed by certain understanding and research that goes into what we would consider very fringe sciences or something even more along the lines of esotericism. That being said, as time goes on, we may just realize that this is the beginning of something much more important for humanity, the significance of which may be revealed within our immediate future. One can only hope that those involved will bring this to light for the betterment of humanity instead of dividing us the way earthquakes do continents.
All right, now we got Dr. J from Dr. J Radio Live. Your thoughts?
Wow, this is mind-blowing footage. This looks like to be in India near an Air Force base. Just like Jake Barber said, 24 feet long is what Google Maps measures. And I'm sure it looks like 15 feet tall. You could see it's egg-shaped, but I'm wondering why one end looks kind of more pointed. Nonetheless, it fits more of the egg-shaped craft than it does, say, for instance, the Tic Tac. Now, is this an ARV? Because this is clearly parked outside. You would think if this is one of the recovered ones, maybe it would be inside the hangar. Now, I'm wondering why also we're not seeing giant trucks and other things parked nearby it, but clearly, it's near a hangar. You see a runway not far from it. Is this, in fact, what Jake Barber said was recovered? What is on top, too? Very interesting, because you hear about them having doors that are seamless, that when they close, you cannot tell at all that there even is a door there. Only when they're open do you see it there. They're that tight. So what is that on top? Now, if I'm not mistaken, when you hear of the Socorro, New Mexico egg-shaped landing, I believe the year was 1962, and the two beings in white suits were said to go inside from the top. So that is what's interesting, if that's what, in fact, it is on top. Or is this a remainder of what it was used to recover, if, in fact, this is a real UFO and not an ARV? Now, India, I wonder who they're working with, because to my knowledge, the only countries that have their own research and development teams in UAPs to back engineer them are, of course, the United States, Russia, at the time formerly Soviet Union, now continued into modern day Russia, and of course China. Now you have other countries that are supposed to hand them over to the United States, like England, Israel, for instance, but they've stolen pieces. If everyone has listened to the video I posted back in March 2024 on my channel on Dr. J Radio Live, the one titled I Recovered Crashed UFOs, a confession from the Special Ops Soldier, he said a couple things. One is that the most common type of recoveries are the egg-shaped, also the bell/acorn-shaped, very similar to what happened in Kecksburg, and of course the Tic Tac, also known as the UFO. And then the crown jewel, of course, is always the flying saucer. But what we're looking at here looks to be more like the egg-shaped. Why are we bombarded all of a sudden by these egg-shaped discoveries? This is the third one, unless, of course, this is one of the two. Is this the one that came out of Antarctica? Or is this the one that Jake Barber? Or are they all through the same event? We don't know. I would really like to know if that is the opening on top. Now, also, aside from the opening, or whatever that is, piece of the tarp, when it's zoomed in, what you see is something near the opening. What is that? Like, I don't want to say a symbol, but maybe some attachment. I wish we can get a more closer shot to it. Let me see if I can see something there. But really, this is massive. And here, of course, is the video, the recovery. I believe this is the Jake Barber exclusive egg retrieval, or is this the different one? The point is obviously it looks like Greer has been right. And we've had more than one whistleblower come out at a time. Yeah, so we're seeing multiple of these egg-shaped retrievals at the same time. So maybe this is the soft form of disclosure. Maybe we're going to start to see more and more of this. But this may very well validate what is being shown in the recovery videos, where you have the helicopters pulling them up and dangling, one being dropped, the Jake Barber one, or the Antarctica one, which, by the way, footage has said that it has a 98% probability that is not AI. I'm hoping that software is correct, but what's interesting is we'll find out. I'm also interested to know if that one that's parked by the India or in the Indian Air Force Base literally has some of these hieroglyphics or symbols on them. This is a massive discovery. Normally, we also know that Google tends to silence these videos, or silence these images. For instance, in Antarctica, several places are still blurred to this day. Maybe they have not caught up to this, or maybe this is their way of saying, we're gonna let things out for the public to know. Awesome reporting on Third Phase of Moon. Blake and Brent, you guys did fantastic job with this one. Keep up the great work, and this is mind-blowing.
Interesting, Dr. J. Now, let's take it out to Brent from Third Phase of Moon. Brent, what do you got to say about this?
All right, what's cool about this is that it was submitted, again, from somebody that's keeping a sharp eye on Google Earth, and they thought this was something they needed to share with Third Phase, and we're going to do it right now. This is great. We sent this information to Greer earlier today, and he gave us a little feedback on his opinion on this information that just came in with regards to this egg at this Indian military airport. He says, I know that virtually every NHA craft has a man-made similar appearance craft, a facsimile. Not enough data to tell on this, but he says this is to kind of muddy the waters in the event of what he says is a soon false flag alien invasion scenario. Neither the public nor the government officials who know virtually nothing in depth about this subject would suspect that they are actually man-made craft masquerading as a NHI craft. That's what we've been saying all along. There's UFOs out there that we're seeing in the sky that basically resemble the ET, but they're reverse engineered, and this is what we've been trying to, tell the world. And I believe this is a true statement coming in from Greer. We are definitely reverse engineering the real deal, the real McCoy, the ETs. What I find interesting too is that this is taken at this military Indian civilian airport, but it kind of does this defense research and development organization, DARPA, which is basically the equivalent, like you said, like DARPA. And who knows what DARPA's up to. And I'm sure they're working all sorts of angles with new kinds of propulsion and everything like that. And it's kind of, it's just a big question. What's happening? We're looking at this and we're seeing this egg kind of shaped. It looks like it's almost levitated. You can see the shadow cast on the tarmac itself, which is interesting. And you could almost see this kind of hatch, like an opening where you could enter this apparent craft, and maybe somebody could actually pilot this thing. This thing's crazy, and good information that just came in. What's your opinion? Is this NHI or ET or just something mundane? All I'm saying is we haven't seen this before. That's why we're sharing it.
Now, let's take it out to Apollo Asteria. Apollo, you just saw this moments ago. I want to get your thoughts.
The egg craft, the supposed egg craft that has been seen all over on the news as of late. So this one, it basically looks like a teardrop shape, not necessarily an egg shape, but obviously very similar to what came out on News Nation recently. It looks like there's some sort of window at the top. So I think that's definitely very interesting. But what's most interesting about this to me is the fact that it came from Jodhpur, India. And we're looking at on Google Maps here, zooming into the airport, the Jodhpur Airport in India. And the reason why I think that this being found in India is so interesting is because India has a long history, believe it or not, with aeronautics. There was the ancient Sanskrit text that came out, which was basically a manual of aeronautics and ancient aircraft. And a lot of their aircraft back in earlier times seemed very similar to kind of like early hot air balloon type technology. They had an entire manual that displayed how these different crafts they're working on thousands of years ago looked like. in detail. So definitely very interesting, and obviously that was a long time ago, but we're looking at, India actually has a major air force that is very well known, and maybe they're developing things that are beyond or different than what the United States is developing with the US Air Force and Space Force. So that's really something to look at here. I mean, obviously, these technologies that these foreign nations are working with around the world, are maybe developing in a certain way. It's all coming out. They're in, maybe this isn't just something that the India Air Force developed. Maybe this is something they recovered, which would be even more fascinating, obviously. So just zooming out here, obviously it looks like this is an airstrip, the Air Force, Jodhpur Air Force airstrip. And, I really think that it'd be interesting to know what foreign nations have found with their Air Force programs. Do they have crash retrieval programs with their governments? I know there are some really interesting things that were found in China, but what's so interesting to me about India is just the massive amount of history they have. You look at all their ancient texts, they talk about this spaceships, and sounds very similar to spaceships and UFOs, Vimanas. India has a very long history with this, so I think this is really fascinating that this is found here. It's kind of interesting that it's the only thing on the airstrip here. And obviously, it's not necessarily the egg shape that was recently shown on the news in a video. But look, at this right here, we have what looks to be a flying saucer under an aircraft, being moved under an aircraft. I'm not sure what the location is here. It looks like somewhere icy. And then we have new video coming out here. It looks like another video of an egg craft that's being moved, maybe possibly retrieved. And, to me, this kind of does seem legit just because of the fact that, it's so unclear. If someone tried to make a video, they wouldn't make it as clear, I think. This, to me, when I first look at it, it honestly looks like an AI image. This was supposedly found in Antarctica. And you see these strange inscriptions on the side. It almost looks like it's in this ice cave in Antarctica. And when you look at it, there's these glyphs that are hieratic numerals. And they're etched in it really lightly, which I actually think is kind of interesting because it's kind of interesting. I'm not sure if AI could make an egg, craft like this that has those kind of numerals etched in. So what do you think? What do you think of this new footage coming straight to you from Third Phase of Moon?
And just recently, we have more information coming in with regards to leaked footage by 4chan, apparently from the same leaker that was the same person that captured the egg video that was just shown last week on News Nation with Jake Barber. And this is basically the apparent recovery of this egg out of Antarctica that was discovered in a cave. We have two separate angles. The quality, again, it's a little off. I wish we could see more panning of the camera rather than just a stationary shot. But we do see the egg kind of dangling at the end of the rope too, and it definitely resembles Jake Barber's encounter with the egg itself and this apparent leaked video. Then we're looking at the egg itself. It was found in Antarctica in this kind of ice cave. And when you take really good close looks at this, it doesn't really call out any kind of AI. It looks like it's a real photo. You can see kind of the lens flare to the right. It seems like it's actually placed in there naturally, not like it was done with any CGI. So this one's really cool. Then you see the hieroglyphics around the edge of this large egg itself, and that has a lot of meaning to it. If this is real, we're looking at something amazing, and this could change the history books forever. Again, I'd still like more confirmation on this. We all do. These photos, these leaked videos are just too short to capture the full essence of this being real. So again, I'm hopeful, but still a little skeptical at the same time. But I like seeing this information, and when we get it, we're going to get it out to you guys as soon as possible.
Whatever this object is, we're looking at it right now, and it is there. There is no CGI, AI going on. This is coming in from Google Maps. The big question is, why is it still out there? Why has it been exposed for the public? Did they make a big mistake and allow these images to get out, or are they going to blur it out tomorrow? I got a feeling these images are going to be totally blurred out on Google Earth in just a few moments, being that we're breaking the news right now to the world. So everybody, give us a big thumbs up. Keep your eyes in the skies. And if you've captured anything amazing, don't hesitate. Send it to us right here at Third Phase of Moon. My email is in the description below. Everybody, be safe. Keep your eyes on the skies. We'll see you next time.